Good man, well-known around town. But Francis will be here next, in 2 weeks, on the 25th. And this is Rick Drew. He has a presentation that he has prepared for all of us. Are you about ready to?
Sure.
And it's on the, what I have learned is a whiteboard, so.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Drew. Thank you for joining with us for our second organizational meeting of the East Hampton Town Trustees for 2016. We have a brief presentation outlining some of our goals and objectives for the coming year. These goals comprise our future vision for the trustee board. In support of our objectives, we have designed a new organizational structure for the trustee board. Historically, there has been one trustee clerk and one assistant clerk. This year, we will have a clerk, Mr. Francis Bach, and a first deputy clerk, Ms. Pat Manzer, and a second deputy clerk, Mr. Bill Taylor. This will enable us to distribute the workload of the board across 3 clerks. As our 2016 committees are formed, they will be assigned to one of our clerks who will function as a project manager of that committee. In addition, we were able to save approximately $33,000 through this restructuring. We are fortunate to have a diverse and capable trustee board this year, with experience in landscape design, project management, marine science, government administration, and information technology. This board is resolved to providing civil, respectful, and professional leadership for our East Hampton community. Regarding specific projects for 2016, we've begun the process of updating the trustees' technology platform. We are setting up specific email addresses for each trustee board member. This will make it easier for the community and other government agencies to communicate with the trustee board. We are building a new Facebook page in order to post project information and updates of environmental issues in a timely manner. We are also updating the trustee website in order to make it more user-friendly and easier to navigate. And we are developing a trustee procedures manual in order to codify trustee operations. The trustees are looking forward to working with our town board, village board, and other government agencies. Accabonac Harbor, Georgica Pond, Hook Pond, and other water bodies are experiencing serious environmental issues. I'd like to take a moment and show you a few pictures of these water bodies. This is a picture of some macroalgae or decomposing vegetation on the surface of Georgica Pond. Over the past 2 years, this vegetation has covered most of the surface area of the pond. This picture shows that same macroalgae in a more decomposed state. And here we see some of the algae blown up into the east side of the pond with the southwest wind. And here blown up onto the west side of the shoreline with a northeast wind. Now, last year you couldn't even paddle or sail across the pond, so it's really gotten to be a pretty serious situation. Over in Accabonac Harbor, we have a culvert that was built to improve water flow into and out of the harbor, and for the past few years it's been completely silted in. So we're looking forward to working to get that cleared out this year and improve the water flow into and out of Accabonac Harbor. So these are some of our key project initiatives. We're excited to work with local community groups to remediate these environmental issues and restore the health of these important water bodies. Beach access remains an important issue for our residents, and we will work with our town board to settle disputes over beach access rights in the Napeague area. We look forward to continuing our water testing and monitoring programs with Dr. Gobler of Stony Brook University, and we see great opportunities to work with our local schools and community groups, with our aquaculture and educational committees. Thank you for joining us this evening, and at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting back over to our first Deputy Clerk, Ms. Pat Manzer. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to the scholarship. Thank you. Any questions about what Rick has just talked about?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, this scallop shell that was just hoisted upon you by Brian has a history. And Diane, do you mind?
I don't mind.
Because you go back to the history of this.
Okay. To the best of my recollection, the first seal that was drafted in recent times for the trustees was in approximately 1988 by Arthur Roth and his board. And that's the seal that you'll see crimped on some of your trustees' permits and whatnot. But subsequent to that, oh no, my dates are wrong. 88, 86, 84-ish. 84 would be Mr. Roth. Subsequent to that, when it was, I think, 1988, we initiated the trustees' largest clam contest. And in conjunction with that, we had this seal and sign updated. This is actually, the design was from Sue Noble, whose husband, Tom Noble, was a trustee at that time. And that's when our seal was updated, and we created this one over here, which hung at Town Hall, across the way there for a while. We took it off the wall, thanks Brian, worked very diligently to ensure that we got it before it was destroyed. There's another one over in the courtroom, and maybe someday we'll have another facility we can hang it for ourselves. So that's where the scallop shell came from for our trustee seal. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a few people who signed up. David Sealer? Sure.
My name is David Sealer, and I am president of the Lazy Point Homeowners Association. Firstly, I want to congratulate the board on election and re-election. And I'm going to be brief because I know you have a full schedule tonight. We all have a mutual interest in preserving Lazy Point. And we look forward to working with you. And please contact us if we can help in any way. And I think that's part of the communication that we'd like to see in place. I think it all could be summed up right here. It's a vision for the future. And we're all interested in that, and you can expect our cooperation, and anything we can do, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sealer. The next speaker, I'll let her catch her breath. She's got 2 meetings going on in the same building. This is Alyssa Meyer.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Meyer. I love what you guys are doing. I love what you've done, and I'm going to put an idea in your head. You seem to want to keep maintenance on most of the properties that the trustees have, with one big exception, and that's the roads. I represent tonight Bayview Avenue, Knowles Lane. We live off of Midland Highway. Excuse me. You don't maintain the road. You put no money into the roads. There are over 30 houses, 20 of them occupied year-round. Last winter became very, very dangerous. We need to use your road to get to our houses. We have no choice. For whatever reason, there's no plowing allowed. I would really like to see you work with the town and come up with a plan to keep the residents safe. We are unsafe. It's almost 2 miles of road between the 3 roads. Right now, we are looking into having private plowing done because we have no choice, which will cost us anywhere of $600 and up per plow. There's a lot of us on this street. We work here, we live here. If an ambulance needed to come down, it would not make it. It will not make it back up. We've had people stay at our house and have been stuck there for 4 and 5 days. Snowshoes, skis, great stuff to have by us, but, cars, no. And we all have big trucks, so it's not like we're in a little car with no four-wheel drive. We need you to step up and start using some resources to maintain the roads the way you do the waterways and the harbors and the pump-out boat and everything else, because you are entrusting, we've elected you guys to entrust and see these lands that we're supposed to be able to use. And right now, we can't leave our home. So please, please think about it. Please, please get back to us as soon as possible. We'd love to sit down and work with you on it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. But I'm not being facetious, it's my understanding, like with the UR roads, for example, all throughout Springs that aren't quite developed yet. UR? Is that what they are?
Yes, yeah, urban renewal.
renewals.
If it's more than, say, 6 inches of snow, the town will plow it for emergency purposes.
No, not our road. Midland is up to code, has full drainage, is completely paved. It is ready to have been turned over to the town so that Bayview and Knowles can be turned over to the town. They're also up to code, there's drainage, everything's in place with these roads. I don't care personally if you don't want to give it to the town, as long as you somehow maintain this land.
No, I get it. I was just asking.
No, but we're up to code. We are.
No, that's fine. No, we'll look into it on our end, and I'm certain we'll get where we need to be.
Sounds like maybe Midland is a UR road, because
No,
of
Midland is a trustee road.
who paid to pave it, drainage.
Can I jump
Yeah,
in?
please.
Yes.
Okay.
It was done by a division that was made called Grassy Hollow in the mid-'90s, if
Yeah,
I'm not, early '90s.
Conditions of resolution.
So it was
required.
done by the builder itself, I believe.
I think what's happened is that the trustee roads are public property, just as beaches, bottomlands, et cetera. In the building boom between the 50s and the 80s, 90s, there were a lot of subdivisions, there was a lot of exchange of lands, a lot of development. In that process, the fact that they were public property trustee roads was not recognized in the process. And that is why we have the issue we have now. Your builders, your homeowners, your developers were all required to meet certain specifications for town roads. And they did so. And yet, in the end, the fact is, it is not a town road, it's a trustee road. So, at the same time, what was supposed to happen is that what we have in place now are access easements. So the homeowner, the developer, should have obtained an access easement from the trustees, which at the get-go would have acknowledged and recognized the fact that the road would remain in as natural a state as possible for as long as possible. That was the trustees' desire. Still remains the trustees' desire up until this point. We'd rather see them as natural as possible. But of course, that's not what's happened. We have some roads that are very rural, and those folks are looking for grading, et cetera. Other roads are paved, they have been improved, you're looking for plowing, et cetera. The problem now is that the town engineer looks at trustee roads as being private roads, and therefore cannot be adopted or maintained by the town. Legally, they can't be. So if we could somehow find a way, Rick is very familiar with all this development stuff.
Is
Yeah.
there a way that we could get Steve Lynch to provide service on these
No.
roads? And hang on,
Okay,
the trustees would have to pay for that service, okay? But
Right.
the positive side to that is Steve could take advantage of the bid situation that he has with private contractors, probably get a better number than the people are going to get on their own. The problem, I can understand the plight of these homeowners. As soon as you don't have access to your home, you put your homeowner's insurance in jeopardy. With respect to ambulances and stuff getting access, typically, I'm sure East Hampton's similar to Montauk, you get a call banged out. There's always a guy with a plow. that runs ahead of the ambulance, but still, you don't want to wait till an emergency every time for somebody to get plowed out here. I'm sure there's got to be some vehicle, whether that is...
Certainly, sitting here this evening, you come up with that idea. It is one that has been investigated in the past. And right now, Steve can't do that. Legally, he cannot do that.
I understand he
Yeah.
can't, but...
So if we could somehow amend the town code, look at the state codes, work with the town engineer and Steve, there's got to be a new process put in place in order to allow that type of function to occur.
Or the trustees, as a body, puts this service out to bid and pays for it separately out of their own budgets.
I'm
That's the
convinced,
only-
thank you for the information. I'm convinced we can solve this. This doesn't sound,
We would appreciate it so much. I mean, my husband is a veterinarian. We get called out on an emergency in the middle of winter with the babies being born at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So you never know when he has to leave. We've had trucks actually slide into the middle of the street. It's been,
It's a big issue.
don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I love where I live. I absolutely love it, but we just need your help.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, I have to get back upstairs.
Bill?
This seems to be something that we could solve. We have roads that are up to town specifications sitting there, not being allowed in the town system because of a technicality. I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
technicality is I think if the trustees as a body are willing to give up ownership to that road.
it's a public road. I think we should consider that.
History shows that's not a good idea.
Okay,
Not for trustees
well,
to give up public property.
Okay, there's two choices here. You can act like a developer, okay, bring the road to DOT, up to code, and hand it over to the town road system. If we don't want to do that, then we have to be prepared to bear the expense of maintaining that road.
Or
That's all.
by resolution through town board, they can,
Right.
we have to talk to them.
And you know,
We'll
it's
sit
not
down
just
and talk.
trustee roads. I
It's-
live at the
it-
end of a county road. It doesn't get plowed, it doesn't get
Yeah.
maintained. You know, so it's not just trustee roads, there's other
Well,
variables of
the
roads.
difference, though, in this
Yeah.
particular case, the
Yeah.
urban renewal roads were roads where everybody paid into their road improvements, and they're waiting for the town to do something about it. This is a completely different set of circumstances. We're holding title to that land. We're claiming title, and we're not intending to turn it over to the town. So I think as landlords, we should be prepared to step up and provide some minimal maintenance in these circumstances.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We've got that, and we need to go in 3 different directions, but they will all come together. Alyssa, who is now left. She'll be back. George Eldey.
David said everything.
Okay, George Eldey Senior. Okay,
Can I just say one thing
Yeah,
about
sure.
the newly formed Lazy Point Association? To echo Dave Sealer, that was my committee last year, and, I really think we got a lot done, and I'm confident that going forward, it's going to really be a good partnership. And I've had many conversations with a number of people down there, and we're all on the same page, and I'm glad, I'm really glad, We don't have all the answers, and we welcome comments and other thoughts, so thank you. Yep.
okay, I think we'll go on with the meeting. And I'll need motions on these items coming up. And one is to pay the bills. East Hampton Marina, $210 for pump-out supplies. Hampton Web Design, $40. Staples, $126. Office for office supplies, Optimum, $155.65. Anthony Tohill for litigation, $796.25. And White Sands, and, no, that's just the name of the, so that's the total for him. Is
I'll
there
make a motion to pay the bills.
Second it.
Thank you, that's passed.
Favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
I wish it were this easy at home.
Yep.
Now, we have the minutes from January 5th, and we were all there. We also have the minutes from December the 8th. and that's a little more complicated.
I had an opportunity to read the minutes from the January 5th meeting, and I make a motion that we accept them as
Well,
read.
I actually had read them as well
Sure.
and have made some, they're basically just, clerical or little clarifications, some of the thought processes. I don't think it changes the intent of the minutes at all.
Okay.
But I would offer that as well as for the minutes of December 8th. I can offer that to our deputy chair to review with our secretary, and if you find anything that changes the
Okay,
content
don't combine
substantially.
them.
Yeah.
The January 5th, is there anything on there that would hold up the approval of these minutes for today?
I don't think so.
Or shall we give them to?
You know what,
Yeah.
let me rescind my motion. We'll go ahead and look at them, and we'll vote next time we meet.
Okay.
I can forward these to Lori, and she can
Yeah.
forward them out to everybody again? Okay.
Okay, on December the 8th, you were there, you were 3 people.
Yep.
I was in the audience.
Which is
In the
not
audi-
enough as members to pass it. And you were in the
I
audience?
was in the audience and I read the minutes.
You have?
What we could do is if we wait for Tim to be here.
Let me say that.
Okay.
What I want to know is the rest of us, because we need a quorum to pass them. And there's no going back. There's no way we're going to go back and sit at that meeting as members. Do you have the faith in the people that are here, that were at that meeting, that you take their word for it? If so, we can pass the minutes of December the 8th.
I was there as well, so.
Right.
Good, 1, 2.
Right. But again, I have some clerical and little amendments.
Things that would bar
Yeah.
the passage of those for now?
Well, I don't think it changes the content or the substance of any one particular paragraph.
Okay, why don't
But-
you make a motion?
Okay, I would make a motion that the minutes for December 8th, 2015 be approved with the amendments here. But certainly, if those who were present would like an opportunity to review them first, we can also table it until the next
Oh,
meeting.
review your,
Review
Why don't
my.
we do that?
Why don't we put them both
Yeah.
on?
proposed
Well,
grant.
Yeah,
We'll
Yep.
hold them both over
Yep.
until next,
Okay, so then,
Grammatical things or?
mostly.
did we put a
Yeah, I'll
motion on the
forward you a
floor and
copy.
second it to pass either of these?
no, I rescinded mine, and we're going to hold them over to review Diane's comments, and we will vote on them on our next meeting.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion on re-upping, I usually call this re-upping, the certificate of deposit. It's up for renewal.
I'll make a motion to allow the CD to renew.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have some resolutions. Brian, you want to start with number 14?
Okay.
Do you want mine?
I have it. Okay, the following resolution was offered by Brian Burns and seconded by,
Remains to be seen.
resolved granting the clerk authorization to call a special meeting of the board at any time with one-day notice to the members. Notice will be posted on the bulletin board at the clerk's office on the website, one day prior to the meeting, indicating the date, time, and location of the special meeting. And be it further resolved, that notice will be also given to the East Hampton Star newspaper of record within the same period herein specified.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tyler?
Resolution 15, the following resolution was offered by Brian Burns and seconded by, resolved the clerk is authorized to appoint and set up committees for the operation of the trustees as he or she feels are necessary.
Second?
Rick
All in
seconded.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 16?
Resolution 16, the following resolution was offered by Brian Burns and seconded by, resolved the agricultural committee is authorized to make purchases from any supplier or hire subcontractors in the amount no greater than $500 per occurrence, which shall first be approved by the clerk in the year 2016.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 17.
17, resolve the clerk is hereby authorized to arrange for the opening and closing of Georgia Pond upon approval by the Ponds Committee and upon notice to the Board of Trustees.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
Resolution 18, resolve the clerk and 2 deputy clerks are authorized to execute ongoing leases with the Lazy Point residents upon the terms and conditions to be determined by the trustees.
Is there a second?
I second it.
May I offer some comment?
Sure.
Okay, this is one particular resolution that I had thought about amending the verbiage, instead of upon the terms and conditions to be determined, to just say it with the Lazy Point residents, I have it in here, like, as per the most recently adopted rules and regulations for Lazy Point, because that was,
I like that.
that way we know.
A lot of work went into it.
Right, yeah. Let me see if I can find it in here. Because my numbers changed.
I only chimed in because I worked also with
Yeah.
Diane on
I
that.
Yeah.
remember.
It's, you know, we got it where
Yeah.
we felt everybody was pleased, and it's a good springboard for
Yeah.
the future boards.
Yep, this, I'm sorry, I have the wrong
Everybody
copy
okay
here
with
too.
that?
But it would be, as per the most recently adopted rules and regs. Yeah.
Is there a motion to second it as
As
amended?
amended, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Do you have 19 or?
I have 19, that's my
You do.
last one, yeah.
Okay.
Resolution 19, resolved all trustees using their own cars for official business or duties outside the town of East Hampton for official business may present a bill for travel mileage at the rate currently approved by the IRS, and when all other conditions of the town board resolutions regarding travel mileage of 2016 are met or otherwise approved by the trustees.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
And that's the
Any
end of my
opposed?
resolutions.
Okay, Bill?
Following resolution was offered by Bill Taylor and seconded. Resolve the fee schedule for the Board of Trustees for the year 2016 is as follows. Applications will be $100 for the first application, $75 for renewal. Moorings for residents will be $10 per boat length foot. Non-residents, $25 for boat length foot. Inspection fees will be $50 for large boat moorings. Commercial fishermen will be $100. The second mooring for commercial fishermen will be $50. Discount as per mooring instructions. One mooring discount, $50. Two mooring discounts, $100. Transient moorings will be, the fee will be $75 a night. Docks and walkways for private property will be $3 per linear foot. For commercial property, $4 per linear foot. For municipalities, $4 per linear foot, with a minimum of $75. Fish traps will be a fee for $20 per fish trap. Freestanding pilings will be a fee of $15. Duck blinds, an individual permit will be $30 per blind. Dredge material will charge $7.50 per cubic yard with a $250 fee. Other structures will be charged at $3 per square foot. That's other structures and staircases.
All in
Kayak,
favor?
a
Oh, you got
kayak
page
fee will
two.
be $200 each. A shoreline fence will be $100 per permit. Lazy Point leases will be $1,650 per lot. Additionally, the appropriate proportional share of those who lease a portion of a second lot. The transfer fee is down here, 2%. I believe that's not right.
That's 4.
4.
Yeah. Okay. The transfer fee will be 4% of rental or sale of house on trustee property. Shellfish bags are $1 each. Shellfish tags are the first 50 are free. The second 50 is $5, and the impound fee to retrieve your item is $250 per item.
Okay, the 2% has been changed to 4. All in favor?
I don't know if I got a
Second.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have we done our homework with regards to, did we raise any of the fees
No,
from
we
last
didn't.
year?
No.
All right, so that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the,
4% what you've been doing recently?
right.
Diane?
If I could
During the last negotiation.
I should try to clarify that. In all our discussions with the Lazy Point folks last year, we did amend the Lazy Point rules and regulations. And in that was, the lease fee would go up 2% annually, and the transfer fee would go from 2 to 4.
So that's where
Trying
the
to,
two
but
came
those
in.
rules and regs won't take effect until April.
April, right.
So it might still be the 2% right now, and we may need to amend this resolution come April to match the rules and regs,
The new lease.
the new leases.
Okay,
Right.
so let me back up a
Yeah.
little bit. We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Right.
opposed?
If I have that right, yeah,
You do.
yeah, okay. Yep, so it's back,
As is.
it's back to 2. Until April, yes, yep, okay,
Bill,
yep,
21.
okay.
But Resolution 21, following resolution was offered by Bill Taylor. Resolved, the trustee utilize the interest accumulated from the Ricin Fund for the calendar year 2016 in a manner consistent with its original intent.
I'll second that.
And I have a quick question. Who's responsible for deciding what would be the most, and I think I asked you this last year, but, where this money can grow best? Do we have a financial advisor that does that for us?
Not an outside financial advisor, but amongst
We do,
ourselves.
we do, and that is the clerk, and all of this stuff is going to be looked at.
Okay.
Right.
All
Yeah.
of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So we've had in different times in money markets.
Can I
or
ask a
CDs.
question? Where's that
Yeah.
where's that money now?
It's either in Suffolk County or Bridgehampton, do you
Suffolk
know?
County.
In a,
Suffolk
in a,
County,
in a
yeah.
certificate of deposit?
Yes, which allows us to make contributions or take withdrawals.
But
Yeah.
not the Ricin Fund.
The Ricin Fund we can, because that's where our scholarship comes from.
Doesn't it stay
Yeah.
stagnant?
We do not use the principal, we only use the
You
interest.
take the interest for
Right,
scholarship.
right. Yeah.
Did we vote on that? We did?
I think
Roy?
you second, I don't think you had a vote.
All in favor?
Well, can we, before we go to that, is the use consistent with the intent? Is it for scholarships?
Yes.
Okay.
The
Why-
interest that is
Okay,
accrued.
is there any reason why that's not stated in the resolution?
Well, the original intent was for the education of the local school children. So originally, like Captain Ricin, he had 4 daughters, they went to Clinton Academy. That's where his thought process came in. So after he passed away, he left this legacy to the town for the education of local children. Over the years, we found it's been used for a multitude of different things. Even, it got so far off base, one time it was used to buy firewood for a local widow, another time it was loaned out as a car loan, but it's been brought back into the education. In the 90s, we were actually taking that interest and dividing it up amongst each of the elementary schools. They have a needs committee where their school nurse will have clothes or peanut butter and jelly available. And they finally told us, we don't need it anymore. We have enough. So we came up with the annual scholarship idea.
Well, do we want to,
Yeah.
do we at some point want to designate the proceeds from this account to the scholarship? Only reason I'm saying that,
is.
I've been involved in other boards, and it's very easy with this loose language for at some point in time for somebody to make a move on this money, or more importantly, when we get discussing how we can improve our revenue stream for this, do something really stupid in terms of the investment of
We
this
could
money.
offer a resolution or an attachment to this one, saying that we move the Ricin Fund be used only for scholarships.
Okay, but we're going to actually need to have some sort of
Yeah.
protocols in place. If you're going to start stepping out of these CDs as your investment model, you're going to need to have some sort of protocols or guidelines to do
Okay.
this, just so that you don't jeopardize the,
So
you know,
we'll get this through,
this
but
account
come
at some
into the
point.
trustee office, we'll pull the Ricin file and research it,
Okay.
okay?
I want to see it too, and I recommend that we also
We all
use
do.
use some of the funds in addition to scholarships, also for outreach programs to schools.
Do you want to table this? till we go into?
No, I think
No,
we can,
no.
I think we can
Yeah.
accept it in the language, but I think moving forward, we're talking about how we're going to look at these funds and how those monies are invested and such. When we get to that point, I think we're going to have to be very careful.
Yeah,
Interest being what it is, I
Right.
can't imagine what that could
Yeah.
possibly be over
Oh,
a
I can
year.
imagine very easily. I've been involved in these things where, you find yourself investing in unsecured investments.
My point
And
is just that interest is way low.
Right.
But
I understand.
all trustee funds are guaranteed, though, and that they are secured in the bank.
all in
Only
favor?
when they're CDs. Once-
Guys, let's
Okay.
pull it together.
Okay.
All in favor?
I'm in
Aye.
favor. Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried. 22? Do you have 22?
I know, I believe Jim has to.
Jim, do
I have
you?
22. The following resolution was offered by James Grimes, seconded and adopted. Resolved, 3 members of the public at large will be appointed to the Trustee Harbor Management Committee for staggered 4-year terms as they perform regular and valuable service to East Hampton. Be it further resolved, a stipend of $50 will be provided to each member of the public from funds held by the trustees of the freeholders and commonalty of the town of East Hampton for each monthly meeting attended for the Harbor Management Committee.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed and carried. Jim, you should have 23.
I do, it's not numbered. I hope this is the right one.
Way low on the right-hand side, they should be numbered.
No, but this, for whatever reason, mine doesn't have the number on it, but it's okay. Yep. As long as it's the one we're talking about. Yeah, it is. Okay. The following resolution is offered by James Grimes, seconded and adopted, whereas Section 213-18 of the Town Code recognizes the trustee's authority to vary the methods, equipment, and permissible dates for taking of shellfish in such areas as the trustees shall designate, and, I don't know what, there was nothing after end.
There
No, it
is the
just
next
goes to the next
whereas.
paragraph.
This is,
Okay.
these are
okay.
being written
All right.
differently than they
Yeah,
used to
I'm not
be.
familiar with the legalese. Whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that in order to protect scallop spawning sanctuaries located within Napeague Harbor and 3 Mile Harbor, and now, therefore, be it resolved, the trustees have designated 1-acre no-take zones surrounding the scallop spawning sanctuaries in Napeague Harbor and 3 Mile Harbor, where the harvest of any shellfish shall be prohibited between January 2016 to January 2017, and be it further resolved that no-take zones perimeter may be delineated by cork buoys colored orange and yellow forming a square of approximate coordinates below from September 2016 to April 2017. The following, okay, no, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
No,
Actually, though,
Second page.
can I, before he gets into that,
Second
though,
page.
before you finish reading it, I actually had a conversation with our aquaculture director, Barley Dune, just prior to getting these ready in December, and he does not require or desire no-take zones for scallop sanctuaries this year. It was more of a, kind of like marking out where it got, what's the word I want, vandalized. He would prefer to continue his scallop spawning program, where he does put a lot of scallops in one particular area. Same program, just not delineating a no-take zone. So he's asked us
does he not
not to
mind
do
if
this.
people come in and,
Right, they won't know where he's doing it. If we delineate where
I
the
don't think it
scallops
hurts to
are.
leave this in here. I really don't.
Finish the resolution and then.
Yeah, I would say, we're having a lot of discussion before the end of the
Do
resolution.
you want me to go through the actual coordinates?
No,
Okay, good.
this is what I was laughing about, waiting for you to see page 2.
Okay, resolved that except as set forth above all other provisions of Chapter 213 shall remain in effect, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect upon filing of the same with the East Hampton Town Clerk and posting as set forth in Section 213-18 of the Town Code.
No, I just need a second.
Second?
Okay, Rick,
Well, now you can discuss it.
Well, I
Move
just
to the
wanted to hear
second.
what else you had to say.
Oh, no, I was just saying, that well, the only thing I was going to offer here is, if you do want to do this, and it sounds like from what, that maybe it's not necessary, but, you're leaving kind of, there are blank dates in there, the months, January 2016 to January 2017. But, what Diana's
Yeah.
suggesting is that maybe you don't want to do this at all.
Right.
Now, did
Yeah.
John Barley Dunn start this he was the
Yes.
one who first recommended that we actually delineate the zones and everything?
Yes,
And
yep,
that was at first because
yep.
he was seeding scallops there in
Right.
high-density eelgrass beds, right? Those are areas where there is good eelgrass left.
Right, and
that's why
close
he chose
to,
those areas.
I think it was, and he chose the areas because they were also close to the channel,
Okay.
because
Good
then the
access.
spawn
Oh,
moves.
so they can
It
spread
gets-
out from there.
So,
Yes. yeah,
Diane, does he
yep.
now have those
Yep.
marked in another way other than the orange and yellow?
No, he doesn't have them marked at all.
And he's okay with that?
He's okay with that.
Rick, shall we remove just the be it further resolved? Take the whole paragraph out?
Well, let's see, so the resolution is really about you designating the no-take zones. It's really what it's all about.
The danger there is that if those areas aren't marked off, people could accidentally dredge them and then destroy eelgrass beds.
You're right?
But,
I think
but,
what's going on here is they've realized that once you mark these areas,
People
you
go
can
there.
expect.
It happened 2 years ago, I think. There was a big incident. One of those no-take
and
zones got
if
dredged and
dredging for
vandalized.
scallops is done properly, it does not destroy eelgrass beds.
Right.
Yeah, to make that clear.
So either we fix this,
agree.
or
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
table it for even the 25th.
What,
I would
yeah.
move to
What do
table.
you want to do? Move to table? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Nope.
No harm.
You would discuss it again at the next meeting, is that what you
Yes.
do?
What, yeah, you guys can talk to John.
Just
Talk
discuss
to
it with-
John a
with-
little bit about it,
I'd like to
and
talk to John,
Yep.
too, yeah.
All right.
and we'll conclude at our next meeting.
Takes care of it.
Any opposed? Yeah, Lori, please.
I move to table it.
That was Rick.
Second?
Rick moved to table it, and Bill, you seconded it. Bill seconded it.
Is John Barley done? Talk to John, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Talk to John, okay.
I know, I'm
So-
from SOFO, too, so that, catch up with them anyway.
Okay, so Resolution 23, though thank you for reading it, is tabled.
Okay, well, hey, you don't get them all.
No, you don't, Jim.
Okay, 24.
24, the following resolution was offered. Resolved, the Board of Trustees shall employ 2 pump-out boat operators for approximately mid-May through October 2016. And be it further resolved, for 2016, the senior operator shall be paid $16.50 per hour, and the second operator shall be paid $14.50 per hour for up to 40 hours per week. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I have a comment to make. Everybody's concerned about too much nitrate in the water, pollution. These pump-out boats are the best thing that we could do. The number in terms of waste that they take in off of boats is staggering. 40,000 gallons annually, and
Yeah.
we
No.
don't charge. It's a service we provide, and, it's money well spent.
We put
really
those
is.
in, because I did that, we put those in for a grant. So we did not have to pay
Charge.
to install them. So the agreement was, you don't collect to.
And also, you don't want to deter people from using them. Add
How
a
it-
fee associated with it.
I've done a lot of boating, and every place I go, they don't charge you.
Oh, good.
As an incentive to get the pump out.
But what people usually do is they tip the guy, and that helps. I have a question while we're at it. We have 2 boats, one in 3 Mile, one in Montauk. And we have the senior operator being paid at $16.50, and the second operator. Is that like Montauk, or is that a second operator on the boat?
No, the 1650 is Mr. Bai. He's been in our hire for a longer period of time. He operates the Montauk boat.
He's in Montauk, yeah.
And, how much,
1450 would go to the 3 Mile
yes,
Harbor.
3 Mile Harbor boat.
Is he like really new?
No, what's his name?
Well, why don't-
Lanny Rost. He's been there 3-4 years now.
Why do we pay one less than the other then?
It just had worked out that way,
Got a good pension from the water company.
yeah,
He's dead.
yeah.
It's just somebody else.
I like the idea of paying them both. They're both senior guys, they know what they're doing. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to giving equal pay.
Okay.
I would agree, I would agree.
I have a
Yeah.
long last name.
You should get above that $15
Lannis,
anyhow, right?
Liz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm tempted to make a joke, but we're
Yeah.
on TV.
yeah,
don't let that
Yeah.
stop you.
It's a blank business. Pay the guy.
So,
If you
we've
wanna-
made the motion and we have a second, so we can.
I get your joke.
Now, Rick, stick with us.
Fill in the blank.
Alter,
Amend it.
I guess you can move to amend the resolution as offered.
all right, then I would move to
Back to the matter
amend
discussion.
so that we pay both pump-out boat operators at the rate of $16.50.
Second.
Hope he's watching this.
Yeah.
So motion as amended, there's a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the,
You made someone happy just now.
that's the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
like that.
Very nice.
I just want to say, I think we've had more people come in since we had public comment. And Brian, since you've, yeah, go to it, Brian. Does anyone else have anybody new that's come in, or anybody who's not so new? Comments? Okay.
All right, Lynn.
We have had distributed among ourselves committee assignments. They are rough draft, subject to change. We're going to be tabling, and no motion has to be made on that. Now we're on to new business. Application of Colliccio for Phragmite removals. Nothing has to be done with that. The town ZBA hearing, just for your information, has already been had for an application at 349 Promised Land Road. Diane, what was that? More Phragmites?
Promised Land Road, I'm not familiar with that one, so I don't know.
It was, I
Yeah.
have to look it up. Application, okay, of Lowy Driftwood renovation site plan.
That's something that has to be reviewed.
Yes.
Okay.
That was,
So that's going to come before you.
isn't that that really old house,
I don't
really
know.
old property that was historic and they wanted to move the dry wells?
I don't know.
I read it on the paper.
Yeah.
It's going to be coming before us. Now, Mr. Parker, you are, your old business, welcome. Village of Sag Harbor. John Parker is going to talk a little bit about jurisdictional boundaries. Yes?
Whatever you want me to do.
No, well, that's what you're here for. We'll stick to that.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. I left some handouts here.
Okay.
And I have some more for anyone else who,
Did anybody not get one?
and actually I have some for.
I'll take one, Brian.
I have
Yeah, but actually, that's it right there. Right? Oh, I've got it. Got it.
If there's somebody in the audience who wants to pass a few of these around, just so you understand that there's some, photographs.
You're going to be sorry you're leaving. Phragmites are coming up. But that's all right.
Well, anyway.
Go ahead, John.
I'm here at the request of Sag Harbor Village Mayor Schroeder, and to talk about the issue of a bill that's before the state legislature, grant Sag Harbor some extended jurisdiction under certain very narrow sections of the navigation law. And we're aware that this issue was on your agenda at your, I believe it was December 8th meeting, and that there was a letter sent to Fred Thiel. I'm here to try to answer any questions you have about that, to explain what's going on, because I think I watched the video of the meeting, and there seemed to be basically mainly questions as to what was being done, and so I'd like to address those. I can talk about it a little bit, or I can just see if there's specific questions that you may have.
Give us a brief overview,
Please.
and then we'll see if there are questions.
Okay. Well, first, let me give you an overview of the issue. And I'm not familiar with how much various individuals here know about it, or Sag Harbor, the bay there. But over the years, and I'm familiar with the bay for 60-some years, and I have a house on the bay, there's been a growing number of moorings and anchored boats outside of the breakwater. If you went back 30 years, the only boats moored outside of the breakwater were those right in front of houses along the beach. Now, today there are 28 moorings there today. I mean, it's a count that I did this morning. 29 if you count one boat that's sunk and still attached to a mooring that's been there for 15 months. In the summer, that grows to 50, 70 boats that are anchored and moored. There are no regulations whatsoever in regards to those boats that are outside of the current village 1,500 feet from shore jurisdiction. This past October, in a storm, every boat, there were only 7 or 8 boats left at that time that hadn't been taken out of the water. All of them either sunk or washed up on the breakwater or on Havens Beach. The problem is that those boats that are moored out there do not have to meet the mooring regulations that are in place, the mooring tackle regulations that are in place for boats that are within the harbor, and which are based upon standard mooring tackle recommendations. There's also no requirement at all that they register with the harbor master, and nobody knows who owns the boats very often. We've had situations where boats have been abandoned there, either while still floating or sunk. The one boat that's been there for 15 months, and actually it's not the only boat that's been there, because some of them have disintegrated, have been there longer. But the one boat that's been there for 15 months and sits only about this far below the water at low tide, right in the middle of the mooring field. If you go by Sag Harbor, by the way, at Havens Beach, look out, there's an orange buoy out there that marks it. If you go out there on a kayak or a paddle board, you could hit it with your paddle. But it's very, very frustrating for the harbor master specifically, but for the rest of the village, to be able to anticipate problems, to be able to see that boats aren't moored properly, or in some cases that you can pretty well guess that this boat's being abandoned or is not being cared for properly, but not having any authority to do anything about it until it becomes your problem when it breaks loose and winds up on the beach or on the breakwater, et cetera. It's an environmental issue because every time one of these boats breaks up, goes down, there's fuel and other contaminants that's on board. Another issue is discharge. You discussed discharge and pump out boats, and residents there have suspected for years that many of these boats were not properly being pumped out and were discharging. And this is slowly being confirmed. The problem is that, again, the harbor master does not have jurisdiction to go out himself beyond the 1,500-foot boundary in order to check.
Quick question, does anybody have the authority? Are they there illegally, outside of local jurisdiction?
Certainly the state has authority. Certainly the Coast Guard has authority.
Okay.
Whether East Hampton Town has authority, I believe it's East Hampton Town Waters. The problem is that no one is currently regularly patrolling or checking in that area. I know that in 2014, the DEC came in on one day, and the harbor master took them out, and they boarded many of the, and some of these boats, by the way, I mean, there are a number of boats that are 25, 35 feet that are moored. They're mainly sailboats. But we also have the 100-foot yachts that come and anchor, registered in the Cayman Islands and the Bahamas and, various other foreign flag, vessels. And some of these are, 100 feet long or longer. But that was the first time I actually, and I saw them doing the checking, and I asked the harbor master what they were doing, and he was able to, to tell me, and they did find several boats that had their Y valves not shut off. In other words, they were in the direction that you would directly discharge rather than going into the holding tank.
Thank you.
Since then, they've been doing some checking in terms of looking at the pump-out boat records and being able to tell that if a boat's been there for quite a while and they haven't pumped out, that there's been a question. This past summer, they did check further, found other boats that were illegally discharging, or at least had their discharge valves in the, in the straight-out, direction. But again, the harbor master he doesn't have authority by himself to go outside of the 1,500-foot jurisdiction and just board a vessel. And that the same is true of, he can see that the boat's not moored properly or that there's something that's unsafe about it, but he doesn't necessarily have the authority to intervene himself because he's a village officer and his jurisdiction is limited to the 1,500 feet. So the purpose of the bill, which was originally put through at the harbor master's request, and it was basically a sort of a law enforcement request, that the harbor master put into the to the village, and the village put into I believe it was Fred Thiel, and then a bill went to the Assembly and the Senate. And I'm not sure who was contacted or who was not contacted at that time. The bill passed the Senate in June. It didn't pass the Assembly because it didn't get out of committee. It was stuck in the Transportation Committee for some reason. But Mayor Schroeder, who was elected in June, would like there to be a further review of this, and was having that further review conducted by the Harbor Advisory Committee and the Harbor Committee at the same time as this group had heard about it and decided to send a letter to Fred Thiel. And as a matter of fact, on the day that I first saw the letter, which was after a Harbor Committee meeting in December, we had just discussed at the Harbor Committee meeting whether or not there were issues with conflicts might be issues with conflicts with East Hampton. So I'm here to discuss that, see what the conflicts might be. We'd like to cooperatively deal with the problem, rather than arguing about who has jurisdiction and who has the right to do this. There is no intent whatsoever to infringe on any rights of East Hampton or the East Hampton trustees.
Could you, Mr. Parker, just show on this where the current 1,500-foot line is and where the proposed expanded jurisdiction lies?
Sure. On one page that shows a chart, there's a bottom line.
Well, that's what I'm not clear about. Which is the bottom line?
Okay. This. Let me see. Okay. And actually, those are supposed to be in color. I'm sorry if you didn't get ones that were in color, because there was some that where that was in color. But anyway. There's a if you see the shoreline, the southern shoreline of the southern shoreline of the bay there, and the first line up from that is it's a crudely drawn line, which I did, but is roughly 1,500 feet off the shore, which would be the 1,500-foot jurisdiction.
Right. That's what the village has right now.
Correct. Under the local waterfront revitalization program, it's roughly 20 years old.
Right.
The next line up, a straight line which goes from the end of the breakwater to pretty much the tip of Barcelona Point, is the line that's in the current bill. And in the current bill, if you look at it, and the bill is attached there, it's given in terms of longitude and latitude coordinates. And I've just summarized it by the end of the breakwater to the end of Barcelona Point. The line to the north of that, which connects several buoys, is a line that was recently recommended by the Harbor Committee to extend that jurisdictional area further. And the reasoning behind that was that although the line from the breakwater to Barcelona Point does cover the area where most of the yachts now moor, it would have left an area very close to the harbor where anyone who didn't want to abide by any regulations which might have been put into effect under this bill could merely step over the line and avoid them. And it was seen that, you know, if we were going to do something, we ought to do something that was comprehensive, and it was recommended to go out to the buoys because those are markers that are already there. And it would encompass most of the area where boats would normally moor or anchor. And it's you know, entirely just for that purpose. It's already marked by buoys, so it's easy to tell people that, you know, that south of the channel is going to be this jurisdictional area.
Which would give your guy the authority to enforce the law, right?
Correct.
With the new line, bigger area, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. More control, the pump out issues, so forth. Yeah, good.
You guys do pump outs for all the boats there?
Yes, yes, there's a free.
That's the Southampton
I
boat,
believe
right?
it's Southampton, yes.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah. Yeah, if I could just jump in there. I remember years ago, again, mid-'80s, the trustees were actually collecting mooring fees for boats within the boat basin in Sag Harbor.
That's what I thought.
And, you know, then we kind of lost touch with the administration or whomever governmental entities there. So it's always been like a little gray area out there, like exactly where is the jurisdiction of the town trustees moving into the Sag Harbor waterway. Like Bill just pointed out, Southampton has been operating its pump-out boat over there. Sag Harbor Village, you know, has its own set of guidelines and an LWRP now. So anyway, the jurisdictional boundaries are getting more and more clouded as we go forward, rather than being clarified and, you know, and distinguished. And that's what caught my attention, is I would rather see it get delineated and finalized, and like, let's understand where everybody's jurisdiction is, and that perhaps in understanding the problem that Sag Harbor's having now, if there was a way to allow for the increased enforcement over a larger section of the waterway without using that term jurisdiction, because that's going to imply now ownership moving forward. So if there was a way to work around that with the Assemblyman and Rick, but also just let's see if we can clarify what exactly is our responsibility over there.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're on that committee.
I am.
Just now got on it.
Well, I think that's,
convinced
I mean,
Okay.
one of the things that's being looked at right now is whether the current wording of this bill should be amended. And for one reason, to extend the line out to the buoys. But the language is also up for modification. One possible modification that has been discussed already would be to add this language. I think that's enough there. Now, I didn't make that up. I took that out of the Town of East Hampton
Did Rick get one?
Local Waterfront Revitalization Program.
Because I'll tell you, you know, looking at the language of that bill, I understood it.
You're ahead of us.
I'm sorry, I'm on call tonight.
Still,
I understood it that the Village of Sag Harbor was looking to essentially take title, that this land essentially was looked upon as being state waters.
Well, that's where it gets a little really murky, as Diane was indicating, the history of the whole Northwest Harbor, Sag Harbor Bay area is convoluted. It's not obviously fully enclosed by the town of East Hampton's landmass, but it is enclosed from the open waters of Gardiner's Bay by East Hampton Town, Southampton Town, Shelter Island Town. The town trustees have asserted ownership of portions of the land here in the past, not only in the manner that Diane referred to, but also if you go back as far as Long Wharf. Long Wharf, the original grant of Long Wharf, the trustees had to give a deed to the original, developers back at this, the people, I won't call them developers, but whoever installed Long Wharf back in the 1770s. So there's indications of trustee ownership being recognized over the bottom land in the past. The question is now, so look, you can separate ownership from control, jurisdiction, which I guess is what, Mr. Parker is indicating the supporters of the bill would like you to consider. And that's, it's going to be for your discussion, but, who's best suited to manage what is going on in that area? And how can that be done, probably in your interest, in your case, without, damaging your underlying assertion of ownership? But that's what you have to talk about.
And do we have the power to go out and investigate these things, like the derelict boats or the boats that might not be pumping out properly? Can we go out there and I know we don't have power to actually
think
enforce
that-
these things because we don't really have the enforcement power.
I think right now that's problematic. It would be, I think, the language, did you look at this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, the language in that sort of, to my understanding, satisfies that Sag Harbor's not making any claims to the.
Yeah, I mean, this language is clearly recognizing trustee owner. The proposed language that Mr. Parker handed out would certainly recognize.
I mean, unless.
It doesn't, let's put it this way, it doesn't necessarily, it's carefully drawn. It's not necessarily saying the trustees own the bottom land. It's saying, though, if you do, the proposed bill will not in any way diminish that.
Well, I'd be comfortable with that, because I don't think it's practical.
I applaud
for
what
the
you're trying to
For the
do.
town of East
I really
Hampton
do.
to deal with this.
Can I just, for the benefit of the public, read the suggested amendment?
Oh, please.
So the people on TV and things and the public
Yeah.
can hear what it says?
Yep.
The suggested amendment to the bill is, nothing in this legislation shall be construed to abrogate, dilute, limit, or abridge any rights the East Hampton Town trustees may possess, either now or in the future, to regulate and manage properties within their control.
And, I'm looking at it too, you could tweak a little bit of the end of that because we're talking about a specific area. But certainly the first part of it, certainly is protective of the trustees' rights. I don't know that you would necessarily insert this verbatim, and I don't think Mr. Parker is necessarily saying it would be inserted verbatim, but in principle, it seems to be heading in the right direction.
It seems clear the intent is to benefit the public by making sure there's better management of those waters and make sure that.
That's correct. And again, I can't tell you the exact history, but I've been involved in discussions roughly about this for maybe 12 years now. And it's my understanding that during that period of time, there have been discussions between people in the village and people in the town of East Hampton, or in government in East Hampton, about whether East Hampton was going to step up and take more control over the issues. And that those haven't gone anywhere, let's say. And that's sort of the reason for where we are. On the other hand, we also want to make sure that whatever is approved and goes through the legislature is enforceable. In other words, we wouldn't want to put through a set of regulations and ticket somebody for violating the regulations and have that person present a defense.
Right.
That the Sag Harbor doesn't have any authority, that it's the town trustees that have the authority. So we would hope to have your cooperation agreement and where there is an authority issue, gain authority through you and through your agreement. To do whatever is necessary, again, to protect the waters, to protect the people there. I'm not sure how much you're aware of this, but you discussed eelgrass, earlier, and in the past 4 years, the eelgrass in the southern part of that bay has completely disappeared. I mean, you look out now and it's just bare sand. I mean, there's snails. If you look above the water, you look at the water from above, you'll see dark patches, which you think is eelgrass. That's what you used to be seeing. And now it's a patch of a bed of snails. It must be millions of tiny snails. And there's some a kelp that's attached to rocks or that floats in or algae, but the typical eelgrass that was used for the spawning of scallops and crabs and pipefish, and I can even remember when you had sticklebacks in there spawning. That's all gone. I mean, it's just it's a desert. It's worse than a desert because it's.
Okay, so you're going to have cooperation from us, but you've got to give us some time to find out which way we want to go on this. I want to read this, and we have our people too, our not just legal, but enforcement.
Yeah.
So leave a number, please, with Lori.
Okay.
Did you leave something with Francis last time you told me?
Yeah, I talked to him on a Friday, and he has my email address, and he.
Does he? Okay. And we'll get back to you.
And of course, again, you can get in touch with the mayor or John Shaka from the Harbor Committee. He would have been here tonight too, except he's got a Harbor Committee meeting that he's doing. I believe he talked to you earlier today.
Yeah, that's an environmental project.
But the current administration is very interested in water quality and environmental, and the Harbor Committee is too. And I think
As we are.
I think this fits right in with that.
And Southampton has been going over there with their pump-out boats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, again, that's one of the problems is when when there's a 100-foot yacht, it's been there for, several weeks and it doesn't use the pump out boat, you can suspect that.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, did you want to speak? This is Kevin McAllister on this subject.
You have to come up here to the podium, please.
Thanks, John.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me to contribute to the conversation. I have a great deal of familiarity with the no discharge zones, having helped craft the Peconic as well as certainly the South Shore. The NDZ comes under the Clean Vessel Act, so it's federal law down to state DEC law, and then it comes under marine navigation law. So compliance with the no discharge zone at the time of boarding, you have to demonstrate that you're incapable of discharging overboard. So as John was alluding to, the Y valve has to be fixed into the holding tank position. Relative to who can actually enforce that is any bona fide peace officer, and that's has a distinct definition. So any law enforcement officer. So with respect to what John's bringing forward relative to jurisdictions, it doesn't preclude any police officer from boarding these boats. So that's something for you to consider.
He's got to be involved.
So a town police officer or a village officer or
absolutely.
a Coast Guard, a portion of the DEC.
Yeah. No, the whole thing goes down to peace officers.
Peace officer, and I don't know if that's
If they have to be within their
but
geographical area of employment.
they don't make that distinction themselves. I mean, the Sag Harbor may limit the authority of their own harbor master, but the law itself doesn't make that distinction.
Bill,
DEC,
speak up.
Yeah.
when the
No,
DEC checked the votes today,
Tyler.
anyone?
Any peace officer can enforce state laws. Whether the village might, be taking on a liability problem or something like that by having people enforce laws outside their boundaries is another thing.
And I
I'd like to
gather
look at-
that's what the legislation would,
Yeah.
one of the things the legislation
That would
try to
give them,
address.
that would put the person within their geographical
Right.
area of employment.
Right.
And they could write whatever tickets they wanted to.
Okay.
Okay, I can provide you that
Yeah.
marine navigation law if you need to see it.
Sounds useful.
If I can get to that, I think it's one thing for an officer to, to see a violation.
You got to go back to the podium, please, so you're on camera. Thank you.
It's one thing for an officer to see a violation of the law occurring and go out of his jurisdiction to enforce the state law when he can see it happening. It's an entirely different process to board a boat to inspect. And I think that's where we get into a sticky, issue. This that you're really not going to have a village officer going outside of the village into another jurisdiction to board a boat to see if a violation is occurring, unless there's some additional authority or agreement. And I know that's why when our harbor master has gone out, he's gone out taking the DEC officers out there, or he's gone out with some other, whether it's county police or East Hampton Town or some other authority, some other officers who have authority in that jurisdiction. I think that's
When the DEC was there, did anyone receive a violation for?
Excuse me?
Were any violations?
Well, I do know that in 2014, when the DEC did go, yes, there were one or two violations, issued. But again, that's in a year, that was one inspection, day.
The Coast Guard isn't willing to go check these things out? I mean, I know it's a lot of.
Well, I mean, I
probably
can,
shorthanded.
again, I can tell you that, I'm not going to speak to whether they're willing or not. I can speak to, from observation, that they don't do it on a regular basis. I mean, yes, you could say that is there a state police boat that could be doing it? Is there a Suffolk County police that could be doing it? But the answer is they're not a regular presence in the bay.
Sure.
They don't have a regular schedule for doing that kind of checking. So
Yeah.
that leaves a void, essentially.
Yeah, and just for everyone's information, even though we do have our federally declared no discharge zones, without the documentation that someone is actually enforcing this federal law, this is why we have so many acres of closed bottom land, like say in 3 Mile Harbor, because if we can't, the DEC is going to close these shellfish areas based on the number of boats, period, amen, the number of boats, whether we have a pump-out boat operator out there or not, shoreside facility, doesn't matter. If we cannot enforce that no discharge zone, our bottom lands are closed. So it is an area that needs to be addressed going forward. A lot of enforcement is necessary. And again, it's just resources, to find the money and the time and the personnel to do all that on any level of government.
Okay, so we're going to have a little committee. And Tyler is on it, Bill is on it, Diane is on it, Rick Whalen's got to be a part of it. Okay, good. Thank you. I just want to go ahead here because the village ZBA hearings, one is coming up on the 22nd of this month. Applications for Whittle. They have the trustee permit, has already been issued. The RST/JRT LLC is coming up on the 22nd, and that's 41 2 Mile Hollow Road. They wanted a walkway over the dune. I think that might be done, but
They
you're
have.
doing
Yes, right.
some investigation to see whether
Yes.
that's trustee or not.
Yes, that was actually a matter of executive session discussion last year. Yeah, now that I recall,
Okay.
yeah,
And then the 93 West End Road
right.
is coming up.
Pond House, we may have
Pond
commented
House.
on that one too, just to bring the house away from the pond. I think they were gonna put a pool between the house and the pond. We thought maybe that was not such a good idea.
Can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, on committee reports, and we haven't formulated committees yet, but we might get updated. I want to go to Georgica. There are a lot of applications in for Phragmite control. And I've asked Tyler if he would like to talk a little bit about Phragmites and what is so bad about them. Some of us hate them, but they certainly are stronger than we are. Tyler?
Sure. Phragmites is a plant genus that has lots of species that are really similar. There are ones that are coming over from Europe through time. There are also native Phragmites species, but the European species are a lot more vigorous, so a lot of these,
Excuse me, they're all the same species.
they're subspecies.
They're subspecies.
So there are many, different levels of hierarchy there. But if you, the ones that are taking over now are more vigorous, and so it's very hard to get rid of them. They grow very tall. They block out the light from other native species, so they can form big monocultures of the one subspecies of Phragmites, which isn't very valuable to native fauna either. Birds don't really nest there. Most native species don't really have a good relationship with that. But you agree with me, Jim? And the roots are really vigorous, so they'll spread out to the sides easily. They like fresh water a little more than salt water, but they'll live in brackish areas too. So a lot of ponds, like Georgica Pond and Hook Pond, have big problems with them. You can hand dig out the roots. So a lot of applications have hand digging, where they can actually remove the roots too. The problems with that can be if you get roots ending up somewhere else after you've hand dug them, they can grow there too. So proper disposal is always needed for those applications. And I believe you can get an application for $100 to start, and then at $75 to renew it every year.
I
It's a
remember
yearly
when there
renewal, but
were no Phragmites.
It's taken over
Where'd
a
they
lot
come
more
from?
in certain areas.
Phragmites have always been present.
They like polluted waters and eutrophied
if you
waters too,
look
so the
at
more we have more
documentation,
pollution.
whether it's photographs or whatever, going back from the beginning of, like, photo records, Phragmites have been present. Something happened from around 1936 forward where certain places, the Phragmites just took off. They expanded like crazy. There's a ton of speculation, and a lot of it is speculation, whether this is an introduced European or Asian strain of the
They're
plant.
very closely related. It's hard to
Yeah.
focus.
Phragmites australis is a plant that literally is found globally.
Every continent but
Okay.
Antarctica. Every state but Hawaii and Alaska.
But it doesn't matter where it came from. Its behavior right now is antagonistic to most of the native wildlife. It does choke out existing native stands of vegetation, which in turn impacts wildlife habitat, which also, as it grows, it actually changes the topography of the land, because that biomass, as it decomposes, as it breaks down, it actually increases the elevation of areas. So the
Like
topography.
middle bog.
Yeah, so the topography changes, and there are some ways of controlling it. There's been projects where they've increased the salinity of areas. They've done this back by Riverhead, which weakened the plant. There's projects where they've excavated the root systems, either with equipment or hand methods. DEC sanctions the use of a couple of chemicals to control it, and that has been used not in the town of East Hampton, but the town of Southampton has done it. The bottom line is, if you take even if it's a mowing regime, if you take some aggressive approach to depriving the plant its ability to photosynthesize, you can weaken it, you can wear it down, and it's amazing how quickly some of the native vegetation begins to re-enter the area.
So back up a little bit. Does that mean get rid of it before it sprouts? And
Well, what you do, in the town of East Hampton has been engaged in some of these projects, but unfortunately their diligence hasn't been great. If you cut it like this time of the year, cut it back to the ground in the spring when the shoots emerge, they're about 2 feet tall, cut it again. When they get up again 2 feet tall, cut it again. The first season, you're going to have to cut it about 4 times. Second season, you may get away with 3 cuttings. By the third season, you're going to see a real measurable number of emerging stems take place. By season 4, you'll actually see, a reintroduction of some of the plants that actually belong there. But we've done different projects over the years employing different methods. Excavation is time-consuming, it's expensive, it's disruptive not only to the area that you're working in, but the surrounding area. Some of the other methods, the mowing and the hand removal, have become more acceptable because they're just less invasive.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt the other native species because you want them to come and take
Well,
back
it's
the
not
area
even a
over.
matter of that. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of how much collateral damage do you
Right.
want to do around this?
And what we want here is biodiversity, because if
Yeah.
you have just one plant there, it's not benefiting.
so what happens if you get down with some machine and dig out the
Oh, you can.
rhizomes?
Oh, you can.
Is it going to come back?
Well, in theory, no. But in reality, the efficacy of you doing this sometimes, there's always going to be some propagule left there that's going to need to be policed, it's going to need to be addressed. And that's why the DEC permits and stuff that are issued with these things are typically issued with a management permit along with the initial implementation permit.
Bill, you have a natural hatred for this stuff, don't you?
No, no.
I know you've gotten in there and cutting a lot of it down.
We've done things, but, you just have to be vigilant. You can't just do it once and walk away. You have to.
No, you have to
come up with
keep,
a
you got to
plan
stay with it.
That you're gonna do it, until it's gone. And, but it does get easier and easier. That's why,
A good example actually is Maidstone Golf Club took on a program, I think it's about 10 years ago now, where they got a permit and they did the mowing. And it's been very, very effective. And if it's kind of a subtle change, because you're looking at a 6-foot tall to 10-foot tall plant, being replaced by something that's slightly shorter by the cattail. And but there's good portions of Maidstone Golf Club that are actually looking pretty darn good these days, and it's because of the diligence of the Maidstone Club and some of the property owners along there.
that's why I think, the philosophy of this board is that, we support the cutting of Phragmites, and the more the merrier.
In some other areas, in like New Jersey and that, where they do wetland banking, they've actually taken large areas and killed the Phragmites off chemically, and then come in and replanted the areas. I mean, it's not something that has been agreeable to this community, but it has been done on a very large scale in other areas and quite effectively.
I do want to commend the village for changing their restrictions on Phragmite removal permits to make it easier for people to remove Phragmites in the village. We really hope to work with the village on that and get more Phragmites removed in areas like Georgia Pond, where there's a lot. I know I go walking in the duck pond a lot, the East Hampton duck pond, and there are areas where there are native cattails still that are being encroached on by Phragmites. Every year you see the Phragmites moving more and more into that area, so supporting the native species like the cattails are really, really important for the natural diversity out here. So,
Okay.
hope to work with the village on that.
Any comments?
Georgia Pond. Clean in many ways.
Can I
Thank you.
just
Sure.
point out that, as Jim was saying, the fact that the topography can be changed, that was something that we had noticed last year. So the prior board, you'll see on here the letters of intent that are attached to a couple of these Phragmite applications. That was just a means of this board having that acknowledgement, like we talked with the Sag Harbor guy, that the intent is to get rid of the Phragmites. The intent is not to either grow or shrink our jurisdiction or their private property. So that was really, I thought that was really
With the application
wise.
or with the approval, is there anything on there that says that they must agree to be tenacious about this? And
It's usually specific to the application, they used to come in and ask to cut once or twice a year, and now we've come to realize, 3-4 times is better. So we got to the point where we'd say, cut as often as you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, as you need to. Yep. The problem was, in some of the bigger and some of the initial projects, someone sees a bulldozer or a piece of equipment out and around a water body, and they immediately start calling people, what's going on? What are they destroying? They're not destroying anything, they're cutting Phragmites. But it took a while for the public and for people to kind of catch on that that's what's happening. So,
We see ponds we used to play in as kids and take little boats around, and like the one down by the entrance to Georgia Beach, where Vaughn Backlund lived, it's no longer a pond, it's just Phragmites.
Yeah, again, one major aesthetic problem with it is that it's so tall you can't see over it. So even for people who just want to get rid of it for the aesthetic reasons, that's going to benefit the environment too if they get rid of it for those reasons. So it's kind of a win-win. Most people get rid of it.
When we do get our committees together, Hog Creek, we have the Leibowitz dock inspection. It's all good to go, it just needs some final inspections. Lazy Point, Mary Krogan, survey submitted, it's condition of permit.
I do believe, Mary, didn't you get your permit? You did, I believe, yeah, I'm sorry.
And you're good to
Yeah.
go. What I want to know
You report
is
on
the
that,
fence
yeah.
collecting any sand? Is it working? Good. All right. Pretty windy yesterday. Well, yeah,
It's a good day for it yesterday.
so this is good. Nature Preserve, we don't ourselves
Sorry,
have,
can I interrupt for Lazy Point again, one
Yeah,
moment?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry,
What do you have?
I'm sorry. This was,
Oh, I know.
I had put this in everybody's box, folder in the office. This was just in addition to all our amendments and going over the rules and regs for Lazy Point last year. I had just gone over and amended the lease agreement so that it adequately reflects the new portions of the rules and regs. And I was just hoping that, if everybody gets a look at that, if you haven't yet, that maybe before the leases expire in April, we can get that
Yes.
adopted and
and Lori
be ready.
pointed that out today,
Yes,
too.
okay.
And that really went in with one of the resolutions that we read to try to get things
Right, right.
together
Okay, thank
properly. We don't have a committee on Nature Preserve, but we have two guys, Jim Grimes and Tyler Armstrong, who are on the Nature Preserve Committee. So we have two things, and I'm just going to bunch them together. If there's anything you'd like to throw in about either one, the Lester Preserve, which is off Soak Hides, and the Marina Lane Preserve, there's been a lot of dumping. They talked about chaining it off. They talked about not chaining it off. If you want to add anything to that. And then South Flora.
Pat, I would just remind our listeners, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, but we, towards the end of 2015, we encouraged the town to increase the litter fee fines.
That's been done.
I believe that's
Yep.
been
Yeah,
done.
this idea of people dumping their garbage. I was down in Lazy Point the other day where there was a box spring and a mattress just on the side of the road. I mean, yeah, it's just,
Yeah, it's not just in these nature preserves, it's on the
Yeah.
pole lines, it's in any of the
Every place.
common areas. and-
so, the public, they need to be aware that the fees are higher and,
Yeah.
the town is
Yeah, we should-
aggressively going after people.
We should
Yeah, when we-
encourage some more enforcement efforts. Some of the cameras you can put
Yeah,
on a
you
site,
buy
take a
$40
picture.
bucks, you can buy a game camera.
For $40.
Takes pictures at night, too.
You take a picture every 15 minutes for.
Well, no, they're motion activated.
Yeah, well, they'll
What
give
did you
you
just call it?
motion.
It's a little
activated.
motion activated, you can buy them at
Call it a
Cabela's.
game
Like a
camera?
wildlife camera.
They hunters get them to scope out areas for
See where
hunting,
deer are
you
going
know,
and
and it
stuff like
works
that.
pretty effectively.
I have to get some of those.
Yeah, I'd like to see
They're
what
cheap, they're
animals
incredibly
are
cheap.
tearing up my
It's a
yard.
little SIM card, just like, your digital camera. It has a couple batteries in it, and you can set them to either take 20 seconds of video, or you can set them to take shots, every 3 seconds for 20 seconds or whatever. But they work great. I mean, you can even get license plate numbers. They're clear enough that the resolution, that a lot of times you can get license plate numbers.
Not a lot of
things like that
privacy
all-
left out there.
Yeah,
Shouldn't have, you should be able to dump it.
Jim is telling you.
I'd also like to see when we
There
form
are.
the education committee, I'd like to see us, focus on some outreach campaigns for things like that too, to help educate the public more about how to properly dispose of garbage, like a mattress, or a box spring, which might be confusing of where to put it,
Typically, what I think you see on these things, two things you get. You get stuff like the mattresses, and you get the construction debris. And what it is,
And
it's the
brush,
guy that
landscaping.
just isn't going to pay.
Yeah.
He's not going to pay Mickey to take it away, or it's an out-of-town worker who can't go into our town landfill or dump something, so they look for some quiet spot along the side of the road.
And this is not new. This has been
No.
going on
No.
forever.
Maybe again, we can work with Steve Lynch a little bit or something and see if the recycling center has some ways we can work with them to help
Well, for
people
all,
better, or even
for all
Okay.
couple of particular
other
spots
programs.
here at Marin Lane, we should either
Yeah,
look into a
the,
camera for ourselves.
Or just some better
Well, Nature
policing in
Preserve-
those areas.
We're meeting with the Nature Preserve this Thursday, so we'll discuss
Yeah.
that more. I don't really want to restrict access there either, so.
I don't blame you.
There are
I
other
don't
ways to go
either.
about it other than restricting access, I think.
And Stephen has helped us, the highway department, with signage down at Fresh Pond, where we put up a sign going into the woods, and there used to be a lot of dumping there, and the sign has really helped,
That's good.
Yeah.
You think?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Adds the guilt factor.
Well, it's got
Or maybe the thoughts
it's
of the little
got
camera.
the verbiage and it's got the fine and it's right there. And since we put it up there, I haven't seen anybody dumping. So, yes, it's working.
Okay.
Okay.
With
I'd
regard to-
just like to say, Councilwoman Sylvia Overby has come in. And did you have anything that?
I'm so excited to see you guys here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the use of your home.
I want some barn swallows in here.
Barnstable.
Yeah.
Elaine,
Yeah.
it's got a hand up.
Elaine,
You all look so comfortable here, and this is a pleasure to be here. This is so much nicer.
thank you.
Thank you.
You look well, and you're all working together well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
South Flora.
That's next.
Yes, that's next. Yeah.
Do you have something to offer on that? Well, you go first.
Okay. I did go before the town board on behalf of the last year's Board of Trustees. They had proposed a management plan for South Flora, and it had been adopted that evening. Unfortunately, the language of their management plan includes the beach. The beach is not part of the nature preserve. The boundary of the nature preserve ends at the beach grass line. So in the language of the management plan, they've included plover management and, all the stuff on the beaches. It's unenforceable, it's not their property.
Okay, do I sense another committee coming up?
We've been talking about it.
Have you been talking about it, Bill?
Yeah.
You've been
I mean,
talking about it?
No, I mean, there's no way that the town has jurisdiction on the beach out there.
Right.
And I don't think they're asserting it. The only way it would affect the property going through there is, I know in the past, they've blocked that one four-wheel drive access on several occasions
For plovers.
when there's a plover nest.
Right, so if
Yeah,
that's
right,
the
yeah.
verbiage that needs to be in the nature preserve management plan, that's fine, but you don't need verbiage that describes, we're gonna put up fencing and 1,000 feet of this and that, and,
That's really.
you know,
they
Have
don't-
you
it doesn't
been-
belong in there.
Have you been to the
Yeah.
Nature Preserve meeting?
Yes, I represented the trustees at the nature preserve, yes, I did.
And then the resolution was done
The
differently than?
yes, the resolution was amended, the committee put forth a plan to the town board, and it was modified and amended by the planning department and the natural resources department. And what came out of that did not have the support of the nature preserve committee.
Okay, well,
the
Tyler
trustees.
and Jim,
That's a subject for this week's meeting. I think
Okay.
it might be better be brought
Okay.
back next month.
all right, that's taken
More
care of.
information.
Okay.
Thank you. 3 Mile Harbor, business as usual. The Beckenstein notification of completion's been received. We need an as-built, or Lori, we have an as-built. Yes?
From Beckman's.
And Shagwong memo from the building department. Some of these go back a long time.
Shagwan and Strauss have been
Needs-
taken care of, they're done.
Have they been
Yes,
checked?
they're done.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Shagwell
Yeah.
actually
Yep.
needs a memo.
Needs a memo from,
Thought it was done.
I
Yeah?
couldn't find it.
All right.
So I need a memo
Okay.
saying that the project is completed according to trustee permit.
okay, under the report of the clerk. I've been in there about 2 weeks, and I have nothing pertinent to report other than a big overload. After this, I have rental registry, where the town board would like to include Lazy Point. And that's been decided by the last board?
The rental registry, we had asked whether the trustees' leasing of the land was relevant to the law as it was written, and they advised me in writing to the trustee's office that it was not.
Correct.
Who advised you?
The town attorney's office.
Oh,
So our leasing of properties is not subject to the rental registry, but for our tenants who may choose to sublet their property,
Right.
they would be subject to the rental registry.
good, okay, terrific.
Makes sense.
And I think the paper got it right. I read it in the paper that way as well, the Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're still here. The public hearing on the 15th is coming up, and it's about alcohol consumption at Indian Wells Beach. To sign off on it, as a Board of Trustees for this year or forever. My own opinion, which I'll start with, because I may not get a chance to get it in again, is that alcohol, hot sun, and salt water don't mix. They didn't mix last year, they don't mix this year, and they're not going to mix 30 years from now. I think it ought to be forever. Does anyone?
I object to that.
You do, okay.
I do.
I'm sorry, I got to agree with Pat on this.
You're sorry to agree with me. You're forgiven.
I'm sorry to agree with you, too.
Okay.
This was brought up 3-4 years ago by the town board. There was an issue with some behavior on that particular beach. Attention was brought to that behavior. Some modifications to the rules and regs were made. They were implemented just at the tail end of one season, re-implemented again last season. There has not been a substantial amount of alcohol, drugs, bad behavior, anything on that beach now.
Oh, man, that is so not what I heard today.
The parking and the driving has all been modified and changed. Forever is a long, long time. And this is not.
I think year by year is very cumbersome.
Yes, and actually, last year, after many, many meetings, and a compromise was reached for the weekends, during the summer, during lifeguard hours, and what sign was put up? Alcohol ban on the beach. So all summer long, everyone who went to the beach thought there was a permanent alcohol ban. And so the signage was wrong. So even after all, the prior board did feel a little very discouraged that even after all we had tried to do to come up with a compromise, that's not what was, made public. It's not what they thought had happened. And I just feel like, there's not enough documentation to show that a permanent ban is necessary.
I respect that. This board may feel otherwise. Do you have any other input?
My feeling is that alcohol, hot sun, and salt can mix, but not during the lifeguard hours in the lifeguard area at a new wells.
That's very, very
So, I mean,
good point.
I like Diane's point that the
Yes,
sign may
that
have
is,
been misleading to make people think that they couldn't go to the beach somewhere else and enjoy a beer in the sun if they wanted to.
Right.
But we don't want people partying in the
The
middle of the day
restriction
with
is
their,
a
when their
finite.
children in the middle of a lifeguard
is.
zone, the lifeguards having to
So maybe that's
worry about
additional
drunk
signage.
swimmers.
Proper
So-
signage of what was agreed to last year would be fine.
I could see something like
Yeah.
putting it for 3 years and seeing what happens, or something like that.
Ryan,
Well,
you're thinking. I
To
see
me,
you
that would be a
thinking.
good compromise. I tend to visit this on a completely different level. I visit it on the EMS level where we handle numerous calls in the course of a year where, the bottom line is you want to get down, you want to have a little party on the beach, you want to have a little fun. In years past where it was a couple beers or whatever, it was wonderful. But you know what? Unfortunately, that's not the realities here.
Right.
The realities here are more like a small mass gathering. When we were kids, Diane, the drinking age was 18. We were all bellied up to the bar at 18, getting drunk in a bar, throwing up in the parking lot. Well, now,
do that.
now our kids, no, now the drinking age is 21, and it's a different story. Your 18-year-old, that kid isn't going to a bar, and I can tell you, quite frankly, I've raised 3 kids in this town, and there ain't a one of them that hasn't found themselves on the beach, at a beach party, having a few beers. And a few beers is fine, okay? But when you catch the kid who's had a few beers, he's had a few roofies, and he's running naked through the friggin' dunes because he thinks he's on fire, okay? You know what? Come on, guys. I think it's a real simple deal. It makes it easier for law enforcement. No drinking on the beach. Simple.
What about after 6 p.m.?
What, so we can get drunk in the dark?
No.
Okay, that's, Brian, that's when most of
No,
this shit occurs.
You're legislating against a few bad apples.
You have the catering people, they
I
like
got
to do
it,
their
I got it,
clam
but you know what?
bake. They're not going to
Brian,
be happy.
To me, I'm sure they're not going to
No.
be happy, but you know what? And I'm the last guy. Nobody would like to go down there and get blasted on the beach more than I would, okay? But you know what? I think
But you don't do that
I've
because
been down to this often enough that I think it's simple. Me enjoying the beach doesn't depend on me drinking on the beach. And I feel like as soon as we accommodate this, that's what we're saying. Let's go get drunk on the beach, okay? I'll do that in my own home, and I think it makes it easier for law enforcement when they get, when they come across these situations. It's cut and dried, it's black and white. You're drinking on the beach, you're getting a ticket.
So I'm not trying to be facetious here, but now, if your law goes into effect, does that not allow, say, my wife and I to have a glass of wine down at the end of Indian Wells one evening?
Are you in your vehicle or down on the?
We're on a,
That's totally, that's open container.
No, we're on a blanket.
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
yes, it does prohibit
I
you
don't
from
think
doing
that's
it.
right.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, well,
But yet I
I'd
understand.
like to see
yeah.
some accommodation there, but unfortunately, it's taken me a long time to come around to this.
Well, the lifeguards are there.
I'm totally against this.
And there are kids
my whole
swimming.
life, but I've kind I've kind of settled into the realities here. And as soon as you allow it, what you have done is there's no real way to regulate it at that point, because there is no way to differentiate between you and your wife having a glass of wine on a beach very quietly, very, very respectfully, and the 20 kids with the keg. There is absolutely no way in legalese you can
Right.
differentiate.
And unless those 20 kids are doing something more than just consuming alcohol, if they're underage, if they're being disruptive, disorderly conduct.
And there are laws on the books now for
It's all
public
there already.
intoxication.
The laws are there. So they need to take the consumption of alcohol to the next step to make it illegal. That's where you need the enforcement.
Okay, we have George, your hand was raised first.
You have to come up here.
Is this at Indian Wells Beach, or is this also going to be at the other beaches that you,
This is at Indian Wells, I believe.
so we can still have your glass of wine and your beer at Atlantic Avenue?
Yeah.
Well, now I know where to go.
For now. Yeah. So, and think about it, the majority of the people in East Hampton town who need to get in their car to drive to the beach, who might want to have that glass of wine or beer, are now going to be prohibited from doing that at the public road end. And yet all those folks and all that beach who have the houses and come right on down their stairway, they can still walk down there and have a glass of wine.
Okay, we have a
and beer.
speaker.
I have always opposed drinking on the beach. If you can't not have a drink from 9 to 5, you've got a problem. At Amagansett Indian Wells, my mother went to that beach. I went to that beach. My daughter went to that beach, but my grandchildren can't go to that beach. And if you're going to say, if two people want to go down and have a glass of wine, that's fine, and that's true, two people. But now you aren't getting two people. And they could still do it privately without people, but these people are causing problems. I believe they should ban alcohol on all beaches, but I'm sure I'm going to get a big protest. Abandon it on all beaches. Like I said, if you can't drink from 9, it's crazy. Especially when you get 20 people. And what happens when a baby is drowning in the water and the lifeguard and the lifeguard's paying attention to the drunks having a fight on the beach?
I was in favor of not allowing drinking during lifeguard hours.
Yeah, 9 to 5. If that's how you should start. I believe that's how you should start.
That's what it
That's
was,
what it-
Liz.
that's
No,
what
it
it is.
wasn't. You didn't
During
ban
the
it,
day-
you let it happen 1,500
No.
feet down the beach.
No,
were
between the
just talking
two
about it,
red
Andy.
posts,
Well,
1,500 feet to the
Yeah.
east and to the
Why does
west.
there have to be any drinking between 9 and 5 on the beach in the first place?
I-
No, I just think that you should start, all right, so start with lifeguarded beaches and from 9 to 5. But if people don't need to have being dropped off by taxis in groups bringing alcohol on the beach. That's totally inappropriate.
I'm not in
for our town.
favor of that,
Right.
and we've curbed that.
It's a social issue.
The town's done a good job.
Why curb it for weekends only?
Well, that's
Why-
where the legislation is
I agree with
right
the
now.
sign on the beach in Amagansett, and they did change it. It said alcohol banned on beach. And you're right, that would not encourage people to bring
So
alcohol.
when is it going to come up?
Thank
All right.
you.
The 15th with the town board. Do you know how we feel, Sylvia, or would you like a memo, or should we vote? All right. When Francis
Vote on
gets
it.
back, what?
You should vote on it so that the public knows how
We're
we
missing two
feel.
people. I would just assume. You want to know by the 15th? let's take
like to think more, yeah.
let's take some idea right now. Do you want to?
Sure.
All those in favor of drinking on the beach?
You can't frame it that way.
Go ahead, reword it.
Anyone, who would be in favor of supporting the town board's proposal to permanently ban alcohol on Indian Wells Beach?
The whole beach, from 9 to 5,
2, 3,
No, they're saying
4.
permit, they
at
don't.
night as well.
They don't, yeah, I don't.
No.
Lifeguarded hours.
While it's
Lifeguarded hours.
If it's lifeguard hours, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm in favor of banning it during
7
lifeguard
days a
hours.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
All
6.
year long.
6. All
I'm
opposed?
As long as the lifeguards are there.
Yeah. Is it here? Do we have the proposal? Yeah,
I have it.
okay, we don't have, the exact verbiage isn't here.
Yeah, we don't have the
It's
exact law in
during
front of
the-
us.
Yeah.
Isn't it basically a vote to continue
I'm s-
ban as it is permanently, as opposed to year by year?
Right.
That's what it is.
It is,
There's to be no.
Lifeguarded hours on the weekends from May to September at Indian Wells. A certain footage.
and what do you think, Mary?
I would go for that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
No,
No.
Talking.
no.
Right, that's what
Pick
it
up
is.
that
Boston
mattress
here,
from
yeah.
Meadow Lane
Hours,
and take it
weekends,
down.
yes, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
We will send you a memo to that effect. And I spoke with Francis today, and he said he was even thinking about suggesting it be named Indian Wells Family Beach. He is very much against drinking on the beach. So, I mean, not that, I'm not voting for him, he's not here, but I just thought
I don't
I'd
think it's,
throw.
I don't think it's appropriate for you to really say that, you know, it's hearsay.
Why don't we just
Let Francis say his own,
Over
let
here.
Francis give his own opinion, I
I'm sorry,
guess.
I want to rename Albert's Landing Family Beach, because that's my family beach.
Okay.
Can we
And then the
drink
next
there?
person's going to come in with another family beach. I mean,
Okay, our
they're all
meeting is
family
actually over. I've done everything on my paper. If
Okay.
anybody has anything else on their minds.
We need a motion to.
Make a motion to close the meeting?
Okay, is there an executive session needed?
No.
All right, good.
Bill made the motion and Brian seconded it, and we're all in favor?
Whatever. I think Rick seconded it.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good job,
I've done that
Pat.
to you twice. Thank you,
You're
thank you
welcome.
all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat, for stepping up and
The last meeting.
Thank you
Your
for
deputy
coming
abilities.
down.
Plans in Alabama.
Can we get a card or something?